Hello, everyone, and welcome to Unleashed with me, Scarlett Johnson, presented by Moms for Liberty. And today I have got a really shocking and sad story to share. But it's something that I think the world needs to know about, because when they say it's not happening, they're lying. It is happening. A 9-year-old girl at the Rochester Memorial School in Massachusetts was in a girl's bathroom stall on May 1st of this year. A biological male student who identifies as trans, a boy that's identifying as a girl, looked through the stall and then pretended to leave and then opened the door and basically watched a 9-year-old girl going to the bathroom. She was half undressed. Watched her go to the bathroom. She was frightened. She was scared. She screamed. The boy leaves. She gets dressed. She runs out of the bathroom to her teacher. She's in 3rd grade, crying, obviously distraught. Imagine, I have 4 daughters. This would be horrifying for them. What happens next is really quite shocking. So I'm going to start by playing a video of her father, Louis, talking to the school board after this incident. So let's just bring this on right now.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair. Thank you. My name is Louis Rivera. I'm a resident here at Rochester, taxpayer for 16 years. I am here tonight asking the board for a full and thorough investigation into an incident that occurred on Friday involving my 9-year-old daughter here at the school with a transgender boy. While my daughter was using the restroom at the school, a transgender boy that is biologically intact entered the restroom, was looking through the cracks of her stall while she was inside, then proceeded to push his way into the stall despite knowing that she was in there. My daughter was humiliated, embarrassed, frightened, and left feeling completely violated, while sitting defenseless in what should have been a private and safe moment for any child. I want to make something very clear from the beginning. This is not about attacking anyone's identity. This is not about politics. This is about my daughter's right to privacy, dignity, safety. Every student deserves to feel protected while at school, especially in a vulnerable place like a restroom. Whether you define this behavior as harassment, intimidation, bullying, or voyeuristic conduct, my daughter's personal boundaries were violated. And in many situations outside the school environment, this type of conduct would have carried serious consequences. Yet, instead of feeling supported afterward, our family felt dismissed and ignored. What made the situations even more upsetting is the administration's response or lack of response. Despite multiple emails to both the principal and superintendent, what we received felt more like an attempt to minimize the seriousness of this incident and then to generally address it. My daughter, who's only 9 years old, was spoken to about laws and policies without her parents being there, like she has some law degree. Somehow, that outweighed the emotional trauma she was experiencing. She was told to use the single restroom if she felt uncomfortable. So she went from the victim to being the perpetrator here. At that moment, my child did not need a lecture about policy. She needed compassion, she needed reassurance, she needed adults in position of authority to make her feel safe and protected. Since then, the emotional impact on her has only grown worse. She has reported being taunted and labeled a tattletale by this individual. They have been isolating her simply for speaking up and defending herself. She has gone home sick from the school this week, and the stress and anxiety are affecting her physically. She is not eating normally, and every morning she worries and stresses about going to school in the morning. What is also deeply concerning is the inconsistency of how this matter has been addressed. Earlier this week, I was told that the boy should not be using the girls' restroom. Now we're hearing a different explanation entirely. That inconsistently creates confusion, frustration, and a lack of trust for parents who simply want clear answers and accountability. We even requested something simple as having a student the student escorted by a monitor while these two used the bathroom, and we were blatantly denied. At the end of the day, the behavioral expectation and discipline should apply equally for every student, male, boy, or transgender. The discipline should be the same for either one of them. I am asking this board tonight to please take this matter seriously, conduct a proper investigation, review how this incident was handled from the start to finish, to ensure the appropriate disciplinary action is taken where necessary, to make sure no other child has to experience what my daughter has experienced with this transgender boy. I think that the community should know that if it is a law that a boy that is biologically intact can use the restroom with females, I think everybody should know this, because if I would have known this, I would have never been caught off guard, and I would have told my daughter from the beginning to stay over there. Her innocence was violated in this situation, and I feel like it's getting brushed off. And I would like I want an investigation on this, because it's not fair to her. You know, I gotta go home and deal with her now. So I ask the board if they can do what they can to try to get this rectified, because this is outrageous. It shouldn't be, and it shouldn't be happening. Thank you very much.
Wow, I have a lot of questions for Dad Lewis about what's happening, but I just want everyone to understand this is not a story about one bad day at one school. This is a story about what a school district does when a parent will not go away, when a little girl won't just take it, won't just comply. This is a story about a small community and a school district that is more committed to affirming a child's gender rather than the safety of a little girl. And we know that gender identity isn't a real thing. And now we know definitively, because the Supreme Court has said so on June 30th, that gender identity is not covered under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. However, what is covered under Title IX is for school districts to be sure to protect safety, the dignity, and the well-being of girls in schools. That we know for sure. However, schools are not doing their due diligence, nor are they doing their job in protecting kids. So to talk about this more, I'm going to bring on this little girl's dad, Lewis. Oh, sorry. Made my first mistake there.
That's okay.
Hi, Lewis. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Scarlett, for having me. I appreciate it.
That was a very emotional speech. I've spoken before my school board many times, but never on a topic quite so heavy as this. I think you did a really good job keeping it together, because you must have felt very emotional. But let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about you and your family, where you live, and how you got to this point.
Sure. Yeah. So I live here in a small rural town of Rochester. It's part of a tri-town community. Since it's so small, they're all intertwined with two other towns. This town that I live in, it's approximately about 5,800 maybe residents or so. I've been here 16, going on 17 years now. I've established my roots here, got married, and I started raising my family here. And my children have been active in the community with Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. I'm a coach for my son. I have a 10-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter. Very active in the community, small conservative-ish town. We have like 2 stop signs, no street lights. So you could picture it that way. A lot of farmland. And my daughter and my son go to the local elementary school, which is the Rochester Memorial School for this town area. There are 3 other elementary schools in the tri-town. And things just seem to be normal, right? Until you see and you hear about this stuff in other states. And I watch the news all the time. I try to stay on it, but you never think it's happening in your own backyard. And until it affects you. I never thought I'd be the one, or my daughter would have been the sacrificial lamb for this story here in this town. but that's what it happened on May 1st. Let's go back a year prior to this. This boy has been in the school, and I'm going to say a boy because he's a biological boy, even though the administration refers to him as she in all their reports. They try ushering my daughter on a field trip to see the Mayflower down the road here in Plymouth into a bathroom, and my daughter came running out and told the teacher, I am not going in there with the boy. I called on that issue immediately that afternoon when she got home, and she told me. And the principal said, well, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I will look into it. Never heard anything else back again. Left it as is. Almost a year to the date, May 1st, my daughter was using the restroom in the girls' room. She's a biological girl. And this individual apparently came into the restroom, and according to the witness, because there is also a witness to this, he was there washing his hands, and he had the conversation with the other student that, look, there's somebody in the stall, because they can see her feet. And also in the report, he also tells the principal that he's seen a blue sweatshirt. So he knew that there was someone in there and proceeded to go and peek through the crack of the stall. Whether malicious, sexual, or whatever he had on mind is beyond me. And my daughter says, who's that? Stop it. And he was giggling, and he acted like he was going to leave the bathroom, opens the door, lets it close, so my daughter thinks that he had left the bathroom, proceeds to come back in, and started looking through the stall again. And when my daughter yelled, stop, and she got up to pull up, he pushed the door open on her. And according to my daughter, he stared at her because in a situation like that, his eyes went straight to her lower body. In the report, he says that he didn't, but I believe what my daughter says. If you know my daughter, she's introvert. She has a little social, very quiet. She's like a butterfly. Never had a problem. Never. And it's not because she's my daughter. That's just her character. That's just the way she is. And she ran back to the classroom, and even the teacher asked her, what's the matter? She's crying. Her eyes are red. And she says, I miss my daddy and my mommy. And that was a way that she reaches out because she couldn't verbally explain what happened to her just now. She was embarrassed. Her privacy was violated to the max. And I guess she spent most of the afternoon crying because when she got home, her eyes were swollen. She's very fair skinned. So you can tell right away when she got home, her eyes, and we started questioning her, and she revealed to us what had happened. And we got on the phone immediately. The bus got here at 3:30, 3:45. We were trying to get a hold of the principal. And what happens with this school administration, whenever there is any kind of problem or you want answers for anything, you call the school, and they have the school secretary screens everything. What is this about? What do you need? And it's really none of their concern. They just need to be transferred me over to the principal. And she goes, well, she's on the other line. And I said, it's of urgency, and I need to speak with her. She goes, she's on the other line. As soon as she's done, I will have her give you a call. Nothing at all. The weekend goes by. My daughter's distraught. You can tell right away she shut down internally. She didn't really want to eat. She was nervous. Come Monday to get her to school, it was almost impossible. We got her off to school that day, and my wife started on the phone, and we talked, and we finally got a hold of the principal. And she said, absolutely not. No boy should be inside the bathroom with her. I am going to look into this. That same afternoon, we get a call from the school nurse. My daughter was so sick, she had to leave school. My wife left work and picked her up and brought her home. And it was her nerves and her anxiety that was still affecting her. Come Tuesday, she sends us an email with a little link with some suggestive idea or law that they're hiding behind that says that the child has legal allowance to use the restroom. So something happened between Monday and Tuesday.
Real quick, so I just want to, so the principal told you
On Monday,
that
which
there's
was the
should be
3rd.
no boys in the girls' bathroom. So
Yes.
I'm going to look into this. So
Yes.
that tells me, because I've seen situations like this where the principal is unaware of the policies.
Exactly.
It's the assumption, like, of course, boys shouldn't be in girls' bathrooms.
Right.
So she obviously goes to talk to someone. Probably they have legal counsel. Every school district does. And she tells them what's happened. And then she hears, oh, no, hold off. There is policy, probably in their non-discrimination policy, that says that if there is a student that identifies as transgender, that they can use the facilities to which they identify.
Exactly.
Now, yeah, and usually that, like, sometimes there should be a plan. It's called a gender support plan. Have you heard about anything like that? Did this student have a gender support plan?
Not at all. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. Nothing has come up. It wasn't in any of the reports. And they totally shut me down after that. And that's when I began my campaign. It just happens to be that on the 7th of the following week, there was a school committee meeting, and I was like, well, I need to go and address this. I need to address this publicly, and I need to get answers from somebody because this is not okay. The following on that Tuesday, the next day of the Monday, when my daughter, I finally got her back to school, and this was her. I had to drive her to school and assure her that she was going to be okay, and if she didn't feel comfortable, go to the nurse, because the nurse is she's a real nice lady. She's a good friend of mine, and she will call me and I will come and get you. I promise you. But you need to get to school. That day, when the principal went to her to ask her about the situation, about what happened, she started quoting her these laws. Well, she said when it should be he has legal allowance by the state of Massachusetts to use the bathroom. My daughter does not have a law degree. She has no idea. My daughter comes home that afternoon. She goes, Daddy, what's legal allowance? I said, what do you mean? I said, I didn't even know what it was. And I said, well, she said, the principal told me that this individual has legal allowance. And I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, now I see where we're going with this. And the snowball just started going from there. Now I see where their stance was and where this was going to go.
So they pulled your daughter aside.
Yes.
And the principal pulled your daughter aside without you or your wife present.
No parental, no legal, and nobody there to represent her.
She's a 3rd grader. She's 9 years old. They
9 years old.
Aside, and they start to tell her about school board.
Yes.
They don't call you. I mean, that's right there. That, I mean, I want to clip this. This is going to definitely be a clip.
Yes.
The principal, the elementary school principal, rather than having a meeting with just the two of you and your wife, to explain everything so that you can make some decisions.
Right. She pulls her out.
Some choices.
Yeah, so they had the principal pulled my daughter from the classroom to investigate, quote, about what happened, and she quoted her this policy or this law that they've managed to twist in their favor, saying that this child has legal allowance. What happened between Monday and Tuesday? I think she someone must have told her. She either went to the superintendent or spoke to counsel to find out what was going on, and the next day she had changed her mind and her stance on if the male should have been in the bathroom, and they've stuck to their guns ever since.
So I'm going to put on stage, this is one of the emails between your wife and the principal. And your wife is just saying that she's left a message with the secretary. There's several messages going back and forth
Yep.
between yourself, your wife, and the principal, wanting to know what's happening, and good that you create a paper trail by using an email.
Yeah.
We spoke this morning about a male student using the girls' bathroom. That was the third incident.
Yep.
My daughter told me she saw you speaking with that male student this morning. The same male student was using the girls' bathroom again. He has now been spoken to 3 times and it's not working, and no female should have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then just detailing this is unacceptable behavior, and you are CCing she's CCing the superintendent. So you guys, you've been told you're dealing that, hey, we're dealing with the situation. We've got it under control. This shouldn't be happening,
Right.
but it keeps happening. And
Exactly.
it seems like that it wasn't, this is not the first incident that happened to your daughter, because you said a year ago it happened at a field trip,
Yep.
but now it was happening in succession at the school.
Yes, there was another incident that was spoken about. He slid underneath the stall, and then another incident that he climbed over a stall. They said it was empty, so they say this was all from witness testimony. That's on the Title IX investigation report, and they continue to try to downplay it like it doesn't exist. The principal, since it was a verbal communication that we had about the no boys should be in the girls' bathroom, she's blatantly denying it now. She lied on the report. It's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. This should not happen. And the people that we entrust with our children for 6 hours a day,
Yeah.
we expect them to uphold their duties. We put these people in place. We vote them in. The school committee brings them in. They're supposed to protect our children for the hours that we're not there with them. We expect them to treat them as they were their own.
Yes. And they're not. And I'm pulling up another email that is from your principal.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to bring that on just a second. Okay, here this is. This is from the principal using he, her, hers pronouns. And here's where she says, I spoke to Brooklyn to get her side of the story. So again, is this the incident where she's talking to your daughter without you present?
Exactly.
And she says, I let her know that she can use a single stall bathroom if she feels uncomfortable.
Yes.
And she put a plan in place to ensure that the staff are aware of the plan. So she pulls your 9-year-old third grader in and presents her with their safety plan without you present, without parents present. She gets the safety plan to a 9-year-old, talking to her as if she's an adult, using legal language, explaining a policy that clearly she did not even understand until a few days, until this incident. Even the principal didn't know the policy. And now she's explaining to a 9-year-old third grader the policy. And and do they even follow this policy?
Excuse me?
They didn't even follow this plan, did they?
No, not at all. Like I said, 2 hours later, this individual was running in and out of bathrooms, and he's allowed to use the boys' or the girls' bathroom, whatever he feels like he is for the day. That's sad.
It is sad. My friend, 7-year-old Ella Fry, made this exact comment to me just a few days ago. She said, it's like the Wild West. She said, the boys can go anywhere they want. They can go to the boys' bathroom, the girls' bathroom. They can be in the girls' locker room, the boys' locker room. She's like, essentially, for girls in K through 12 schools with policies like this, they have no bathroom. There is no privacy. They have nowhere to go to feel safe. It's just thrown open the doors of all these private spaces for girls and said, it's a free-for-all.
Exactly. And when she did this safety plan, and she's did a blast email throughout the school to all the employees of the school, I said, okay, now not only you're adding insult to injury, you're embarrassing her because now you told everybody instead of just fixing the issue with the individual, everybody knows this happened to Brooklyn now. Now you're embarrassing her on top. She's already emotionally distraught. Why, why are we doing this? Like, why are we
I have it in front of me. I have the safety plan. Yeah, and all the staff, it's sent to all the staff. She'll have an access, a check-in with a safe, supportive adult when requested. A single bathroom. She can use the nurse's bathroom. I mean, this is
Scarlett, should a child be worried about who she needs to tell to go to the bathroom, or should they be working on their academics and enjoying their childhood and having a good time with their friends in art and recess and in the lunchroom, not having to worry, who am I going to talk to next so I could use the restroom because I feel like I have to use the restroom and I can't find an adult? A child should not be worried about that.
No, they shouldn't. Going to the bathroom, they have made going to the bathroom, it's like a UN treaty. I need to use the bathroom. So now we have to start the process of going to the bathroom. She's 9 years old. She's in 3rd grade. Lots of times kids, I have had 5 of them, they'll hold it for a long time, and they're not going to sit and contemplate, oh, now I have to use the bathroom. And now I have to try to contact a safe, supportive adult to tell them I need to use the bathroom. And then what's the teacher supposed to do? What if it happens? Stop the class. I have to go walk your daughter, walk Brooklyn to the bathroom, and everyone knows what's happening.
Right.
I have to monitor her, or I have to call someone that's going to come and take her to the bathroom, another female. This is absurd. When all they have to do is tell the boy to use the boys' bathroom, or tell the boy to use the single stall bathroom.
Correct. When I didn't tell you about this. We had went in to speak to her about therapy, about getting her therapy bridged over to the school. And I sat in front of the principal and I said, so what is the plan for next year? She goes, well, we have a walkie-talkie for this person and a walkie-talkie for... I said, are you kidding me right now? Who's going to keep track of this? Is everybody going to be on walkie-talkies instead of teaching the class? It's just insane.
It's insane. The bathroom walkie-talkies. There's a girl
they're going to have
bathroom.
Yeah. I'm laughing about it, but it really upset me at that point that these educated adults, this is their plan. When there was a simple solution. The simplest solution that I gave was just to have a monitor. It wouldn't have cost the school system that much money to clear the bathrooms before and after, both with this individual or the girl. And not even that, he should not be in there.
Yes, the real solution, especially I think after the June 30th decision, and I know it was applicable to sports, but the real question was about the Equal Protection Clause and does it apply to gender identity? And on a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court said, no, it doesn't.
Exactly.
That gender identity is not, it's not the same as the Equal Protection Clause covers immutable characteristics like biological sex, like your race. Those things were covered, but not gender identity. That was very, very clear. That was the 6-3 part.
Yeah, Clarence said it perfectly.
Yes. And that gender confusion, gender dysphoria, that is a mental illness that cannot be treated by Title IX.
Exactly.
And that girls' spaces, and Justice Kavanaugh, who wrote the majority opinion, made it very clear that when it came to sports, there were biological differences that made it inherent that girls should have separate sports, separate categories, just to be fair. And I think in bathrooms, there are biological differences that make it clear that girls should have separate spaces from males, especially when let's all just be real, it's more likely that a girl is going to be assaulted and face sexual harassment in a private room that's shut off if males are allowed to enter, then boys would be afraid of girls. I have heard there are there are girls that identify as boys. They don't use the boys' bathroom. Why?
No.
Because they're afraid.
Right.
Because they're
Right.
afraid. They don't want to be alone. Even these girls that are suffering from this gender dysphoria, even they know, even if they identify as boys, they don't want to be with the boys.
Exactly.
Girls don't want to be in these spaces with boys. It's part of, I think it's an instinct, an evolutionary instinct that was
Yes.
put there for a reason.
Correct.
For a reason.
Yeah.
And we should be protecting girls, but we should also be protecting reality. Because to me, this isn't just about protecting girls. It's about our language. It's about reality. It's about actual science. And when we compromise truth at this level in government and schools, that is a recipe for disaster. It's a civilizational problem, and it leads to the end of, I believe, Western civilization. So it's a bigger issue. But I think in this case, the fact that you say that there's a plan for next year where there's walkie-talkies, there's all of this, and there's just a refusal to face the truth. Now, you said you live in a small area, rural. How many school board members do you have in your area?
There are 5 on this school board. There are 3 or 4 in the other town, and 3 or 4 in the other town, which make the whole. And there's 1 superintendent. And if you noticed, I haven't sent you any emails from the superintendent because he's been quiet. He kicks the can down. He doesn't want no publicity on this. He's letting everybody else hang from a noose when he is the top guy that at least should say, let's get something done so we can put this to rest. I sent him an email last month and I said, Mr. Nelson, I said, I would love to have a conversation with you just one-on-one, on or off the record. Doesn't make a difference. I said, I think we could come to a resolution so we can put this away, put this to bed. The community is in an uproar. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You know, I coached his son and I told him, I said, you're a father. You need to understand where I'm coming from. If you look at the Tri-Town School Committee, I told him at the end, I said, you're a dad. You know, you need to understand how I feel about this. How can you just sit there, not even emotionless? It's so frustrating.
And how many students are in the school?
There's probably about 300 to 350 in this school.
Okay. So what and I pulled up the policy, what they're talking about. There's and this happens a lot, even when there's not a specific bathroom policy. There is a school board policy, in this case, in yours, a policy against discrimination, harassment, recent updated. And in that policy, I'm going to bring it, anti-discrimination, the categories in which discrimination is prohibited include gender identity or expression, including transgender and gender expansive students. Just that simple statement, that simple policy can be and is interpreted by lawyers that work for school districts to mean that if a student identifies as transgender, that it is discrimination to prohibit them from using the bathroom, locker room, or participating on an athletic team of their choice, of the identity that they hold. However, these policies are in direct violation of President Trump's executive orders on the guidance offered by Linda McMahon and the Secretary of Education, and the interpretation, the legal interpretation under federal law by Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon. She is the Attorney General of the Office of Civil Rights. And you add that the Supreme Court of the United States has said that gender identity is not covered under the 14th Amendment, and that is anti-discrimination law. So there is the ability of a school district to reverse this policy. They can reverse this policy.
Sure.
If you have a school board that's saying they can remove this policy, they can cite everything that I said, and yeah, they might risk a lawsuit, but they're going to risk a lawsuit either way.
Right.
There's going to be parents like yourself that are going to say, you are violating my daughter's Title IX rights.
Yeah.
And
But
I believe in this
Yeah,
situation.
we are the
Title IX.
majority.
Yeah.
We are the majority. So the majority always rules in any situation. It's the majority rules.
I think that this situation requires, and I know that there has been a Title IX complaint filed, but I believe that this situation is one in which the Trump administration, the Department of Education, and the Office of Civil Rights should initiate a formal investigation to look into what happened, particularly as they violated, I believe, and I'm this is just my opinion, it's not legal advice, that they violated FERPA by engaging in these conversations with your daughter without the presence of the parents, that minors can't make these kinds of decisions. They made a lot of missteps, and I would imagine they're being very quiet right now because they made a lot of missteps that once investigated, I think that they could find themselves in some trouble.
Yeah, the whole administration is they're tainted. We can spend hours. I can keep giving you stuff here between guidance counselors, principals, the committees. They try to write policies, and there's a subcommittee in the other two towns. And if they don't like the policy, it never makes it to public forum. Nobody gets to see it. If the individuals over there doesn't like the policy, it gets thrown in the trash. Nobody gets to see it. And I know one person that has been trying to fight for this, and it's like it's like 70-30. Like the board is against him. So I need to dismantle the whole school committee and get people in there that will help try to write policies to help protect these children. But if I do that, and these subcommittee that they keep sending these policies and they shoot it down, I'm going to have to do a campaign over there too to get those people removed. And I will continue to do that. I will continue to fight. I will continue to advocate. I promised my daughter and I promised the community the very first meeting that I'm going to stand up for her and all her peers. Those are her friends. Those are the girls that she goes to Girl Scouts with. Those are the girls that she plays at the playground when my son is playing baseball. These are her friends, and I don't want to see any of them get hurt like this. They shouldn't have to go through this.
What you're saying, if people don't understand that policies are written in committees, and it's the same.
Yes.
At school board level, at the state level, the federal level. And if a policy doesn't get out of committee, it doesn't get to the floor to get voted on. So if a policy can't even get out of committee on a school board, then it can't come up for a vote. So you have at least one school board member who is willing to tackle this, but he can't even get these policies out of committee.
Nowhere.
So that, and the only way, and the public is not invited usually to attend these. These are all closed door sessions. So there's no way, unless you do open records requests, for you to find out what happened in that committee. And a lot of that will get redacted. So you'll end up getting just this big redacted document because everything will be covered. It's very difficult unless, of course, there is a Title IX investigation by the federal government, and then it's all opened up. It's all open to everyone, everything that happened.
But when you have the majority of the school committee that are posting social media, making nasty comments about what I'm fighting for and against what I'm fighting for, I've got a battle ahead of me, but I am not quitting. The remarks that they make on social media.
Say more about that. That's something I hadn't heard before. So what's happening?
So we just had an election last year, and one that was an incumbent, she came on and she made a post on social media that if things were to happen in town, I wouldn't take it publicly like some people do. Small thing. She ran her campaign on that. I know who she is, but she'll sway either way or the other, depending on which way it leans. So she's a follower. The next one that came in, very nasty. She stood up at the second school board meeting, and I sent you that video. She stood up there and she pulled out the Title IX report and started tearing it apart, telling the community this is a gay bashing political agenda, just very nasty. And the second person that spoke after, if you watch the video, he's the head of the Democratic committee. He's a psychologist with master degrees and all this education, and he's standing up there saying that at the age of 3 years old, a child could tell whether they want to be a boy or a girl. I want to know, who is this guy? Who are his patients? Who are his clients? You have to watch the video because it's amazing. He tells you all the degrees that he has. He's a master psychologist, but yet he's telling us that at the age of 3 years old, a child should be able to identify if they want to be a boy or a girl. How is that?
Okay, so I have this school board meeting, so we're going to watch a portion of this. I'll start that right now.
I'm Michael Kovacevic. I'm a dual master's degree psychologist, school guidance counselor who has worked with students in public schools and private alternative schools for 38 years. I spent the last 29 years of my career working with students in middle and elementary school. I'm a licensed mental health counselor in Massachusetts. My youngest child went through RMS and had a wonderful experience. I strongly support the staff and administration of RMS. In my career as a public school counselor, I spent many hours with administrators, students, and parents addressing students who made poor choices. One of the things that I learned quickly is that there are two sides to every story, and context matters when trying to assign responsibility and formulate a disciplinary response to inappropriate behavior for all those involved. The focus where I worked was to always assist students to learn from their mistakes while maintaining their privacy. I see the administration of RMS functioning the same appropriate way in the matter of what has now become a one-sided public media takedown of RMS, and most sadly, the student publicly accused of harassment. I've been very upset about what I have seen and heard online, in podcasts, and on AM radio concerning the behavior that occurred in the girls' bathroom in RMS. First and foremost, we only have one side of the story presented by an upset parent. Context matters. We also have a group of people speculating, then amplifying speculation until it seems like it's a fact on what happened in the bathroom. The event has been inappropriately turned into a political and campaign tool. The family on the other side of this issue has been scapegoated on social media and is literally being driven out of town. The school was following the law as it stands in Massachusetts, providing access to girls' bathroom to gender non-conforming children. I ask you, have you ever gotten to know a gender non-conforming child, young adult or adult? You may be a person who thinks it's a choice, and how they identify can be driven out of them. I'm here to tell you that as a counselor, I have met and worked with many wonderful non-conforming students who need support in navigating a society that does not understand them and thinks they can simply be coerced into binary conformity. I'm here to tell you that indeed children as young as 4 years old display their nonconformity. Not recognizing them and providing support leaves this vulnerable population subject to depression and suicide. I worked with a student in the early 90s whose family could not bring itself to accept their non-conforming son's gender identity.
Michael?
From a very early age, it was clear that the child was not conforming to his biological assignment. The father pushed. Could you repeat that? I heard you. I just, so I will serve at this point. Thank you.
No sign-ups on Zoom at the moment. Next in-person sign-up is Deborah Tolstanov.
Hello. I'm Deborah Tolstanov. I live in Rochester.
Be loud.
Okay. I'm speaking today because I believe that all students and families deserve to be treated with care and respect in our community and in our schools, and have their privacy rights respected regardless of who they are, every parent sends their best child to school. This quote speaks to all children being precious to their families with all their differences, and that the school will work with each child as they are without judgment. As parents, none of us are immune to facing challenging issues with our kids. We rely on the care and compassion of school professionals to address issues when they arise with discretion and sensitivity, fairness and respect. Most of us would be horrified to have a story about our child's issues spread all over town. I am disheartened that members of our community did just that and engaged in a smear campaign against a 9-year-old student, their family, and our school, fueled by misinformation, conjecture, and prejudice against gender nonconformity. The incident was blasted across multimedia platforms with many twists and turns to fit their political narrative, referring to a bathroom incident between two 9-year-olds as sexual harassment and demonizing the school officials for the way this was handled. This is shameful and ignorant, and it serves to undermine the integrity of our residents and our school community. For the record, 9-year-olds are not sexually motivated, regardless of their gender identity. In addition, this incident was used as a campaign strategy in the recent town school committee election, using signage reading "concerns for our school" on voting day as one example. The irony here is shocking that a school committee candidate and their supporters would actively promote a prejudicial misinformation campaign and ultimately an attack on a child, their family, and the school. All of this is an effort to serve on the school board. This makes no sense. Rights don't discriminate. They are for everyone with all different lifestyles and values. Using vulnerable children and hateful rhetoric to promote a political agenda causes real hurt to real people and erodes our community.
Ms. Wilcox, anyone on Zoom?
Next up in person, we have Luis Rivera.
My name is Louis Rivera, and I'm a resident here in Rochester. Thank you, administration, thank you, school committee, and thank you, members of the community, for allowing me to speak today. 30 days ago, I stood in this very room and spoke from the heart about an incident involving my daughter on May 1st, when a boy entered the restroom, was peering through the stall, knowing that she was in there, and decided it was okay to push her through the door and stare at her. I came here respectfully with one goal: to ensure that what happened to my daughter would be taken seriously and that meaningful action would follow. Instead, after weeks, I was forced to file a Title IX complaint before any action was taken. It should not take weeks for a family to receive answers when a child has been affected like this. At the last meeting, I asked for transparency. I asked the parents to be clearly informed, about the policies and laws governing restroom access, so they could have informative conversations with their own children. Instead, the information was buried in a brief small newsletter from the principal that families likely never saw. What disappoints me the most is that we have missed the opportunities for meaningful dialogue. This matter was not placed on the agenda, and as a result, we have not had a public discussion this community deserves. We could have talked about strengthening student privacy, improving procedure, and preventing situations like this from happening again. Let me be clear, and I said it last month, this is not about politics. This is not about Democrats, Republican, religion, race, left, right, red or blue. It's not about hostility towards any group of people. This is about the safety and privacy and well-being of all of our children. My daughter's experience matters. The experience of every child in this district matters. The current measures put in place is not a long-term solution. Sending students to the restroom one at a time may address the immediate concerns, but it does not solve the broader problem. We need thoughtful, fair, and effective policies that protect all students, not punishing the whole class. My concerns extend far beyond my daughter. There are thousands of female students in this district, and the decision made today will affect them for years to come. We have the obligation to ensure that every child feels safe and protected. As a father, it's heartbreaking to watch my daughter relive that experience through investigations and interviews. Every time she has to tell her story over, it crushes me on the inside. But it also strengthens my resolve to seek answers and advocate for her. You have the authority right here to lead, review the policies, engage the community, consider solutions that worked in other districts in this great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I will continue to advocate for my daughter and for every little girl whose concerns deserves to be heard. I stand before you emotionally exhausted behind this, but I'm determined. My daughter has a name and a face, and I am her voice, though. I will continue to use this voice until meaningful changes occur. Thank you for your time.
So give us your thoughts as you watch what happened. And this just happened in June, right?
Yeah, this happened in June. We had the biggest turnout this town has ever seen for a school committee meeting. There was literally it was standing room. They didn't really span around, but they had to get chairs from other classrooms. They should have just moved it over to the cafeteria, to the auditorium. There was another lady that spoke, and I think it was after me, which was one of the newly elected school committee members that tried to tear apart my Title IX investigation. She was just elected, and the stuff that came out of her mouth should not be from a person that's put into a position that's supposed to protect our children. It was terrible. And you heard the gentleman with the many degrees on his beliefs. And the video goes on, and you hear some empathetic stories of parents that just moved into town and now they regret sending their children to the school. The people are aware. They're starting to listen. And that wasn't the last one. I went to another school committee meeting wherever I get a chance to. They refused to put me on the agenda. They could have put me on the agenda at first. Now they're hiding behind, since it's an ongoing case. So I could only speak at public comment, but I will speak at every public comment until this is resolved.
Yeah. So yeah, that's your only chance. Public comment is your chance to say something and have it recorded, so that right now sunlight is the best disinfectant.
I love it.
When you are in deep blue areas, deep blue states, even though your area is not, clearly those that are running for school board are going to be supported by teachers unions. The candidates are oftentimes asked to run by superintendents. Teachers unions find candidates, they field them, they fund them, and that's what Moms for Liberty. We're a small grassroots organization. We have big numbers, but we don't have the budgets of teachers unions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes.
But they see us as such competition, and they go after us all the time because we're just simply trying to start to do what they've been doing for a long time. They say it's not political, but when the NEA, when Randy Weingarten, when they have their big events over the summer, and this has been reported extensively, particularly by Corey DeAngelis, when they have their big events, they say teaching is political. This is all political. And it's basically a very long 3-day anti-Trump, pro-trans agenda, pro-DE convention, lots of Marxists. They're blatantly Marxist, supporting Democratic Socialists of America. They focus more on indoctrinating kids than educating kids. You don't talk about reading, writing, math. They talk about ideology, they talk about politics, they talk about ICE, they talk about this transgender ideology, but they don't talk about educating kids. But they accuse you of being political simply because you don't want a boy in your daughter's bathroom. You aren't, that's all that you're asking. You're asking for a safety plan for your daughter. You're even willing to compromises if she could just have someone taking her to the bathroom, there could be some kind of safety plan. But I think at the end of the day, they aren't going to do anything that would be viewed as some sort of capitulation to you, and that would be seen as in any way some sort of denial of this trans agenda. Like they will do anything, they will bend any moral, any principle, any policy. They'll just move heaven and earth in order for a boy pretending to be a girl to feel comfortable, at the expense of actual girls, at the expense of parents, at the expense of the district. It doesn't matter what it costs. They seem to be willing to do it. And that to me seems more like a religious fervor rather than an actual policy. They seem to be religious fanatics.
Correct. They have no ceiling. Somebody said that. They have no ceiling. So they will continue. I was never a very political person. I put my flags out for Memorial Day and 4th of July. But what I noticed when this happened, the people that reached out to me with compassion, with empathy, with support were my people, the Republicans, the conservatives. Not one Democrat said, hey, I'm sorry about what happened to your daughter. Not one liberal came said, hey, do you need any emotional support? That's how it turned into this big political thing. Like I vote red. I love my president. He's doing a great job, and so be it. But this was not about a political agenda. They're trying to make it look like it's a local political thing. It was nothing like that. It shows the information shows that the people that are helping me out are the Republicans, the conservatives, people that care about our children, care about our country. They don't take the Constitution and try to twist it and turn it like these people are. And it was to a point I said, this stuff has to be, is it contagious? Is this mental disease actually jumping from one person to another? Because they truly believe it. And if that's the truth, then we need to get a vaccine quick, because I don't want to be next to, I don't stand too close to these people. I don't want to catch it. But it's a hard fight.
They try and say there's a strategy, and this is what I've learned. They will demonize Moms for Liberty, MAGA, Trump, Republicans, but Moms for Liberty in particular, as well. If you work with them, you're going political, and they're doing that because they are trying to get you to enter into the ring with both hands tied behind your back, with tape wrapped around your ankles, and with a muzzle. They want to fight you completely defenseless. So they are trying to polarize any resources that a parent could possibly have to fight this woke behemoth. Mm-hmm. So if you're with Moms for Liberty, that's political. They're extremists. If you Trump, you're being political. They are being political. Every ounce of them is political. They have open affiliations with the Democrat Party. If you look through their campaign finance forms, you're going to see that they're going to get donations from Democrats, from unions, and yet they will point the finger at you and say, don't you dare take money from your county Republican Party, because that would be political. So there's just for people to understand, to not fall into that trap. They're trying to make it look like you are being political with education. All you have to do is look at the teachers unions. Like you said, look at their private Facebook pages, their Instagram pages, if you still have them public. You'll see that they are extremely political. But the media doesn't cover that. The media is only going to cover you, and it's the bias. And that's why we have to expose this. And Moms for Liberty does that very well, exposing all of this, as do other groups that are we're nonprofit, we're not a PAC, but we work in the field of politics because that's how you can get things done. And the only candidates that we endorse as an organization are school board candidates, and because that's where we think that parents can be real agents of change. So what you're doing is just God's work. It all starts local. It all starts local. When you see what's happening across this country, everyone has to understand that the reason why there's a rise in these DSA candidates, there's a reason why there are young people that are now saying that socialism is preferable to capitalism, that free markets are a thing of the past, that it's better for the government to run everything from utilities to private businesses. The reason why they're attracted to this is because they have been indoctrinated. They don't even know what capitalism is. They
Nope.
have been they hate their country. They are undereducated. They don't
Mhm.
read very well, and they don't read primary source documents. They don't understand the Constitution. They only repeat talking points. So the education system hasn't failed in the eyes of teachers unions and Democrats. It is succeeding. It is doing exactly what they had hoped. It's creating for almost illiterate people that will vote and do what they're told.
Exactly.
And once you accept that, and it's hard to believe that, but once you accept that, then you understand a lot. And I don't think that teachers are a lot of teachers are complicit in all of this. I don't think that they are
No.
thinking, oh, I'm going into education to indoctrinate kids. I think most teachers have good motives. I think even a lot of administrators, like your
Mhm.
principal, initially thought, oh yeah, of course boys can't be in the bathroom with girls. But she's got the pronouns. She is part of this ideology, so she has to, at the end of the day, do what she's told, regardless of if it's fair or if it's right. And this is the situation we're in, so we have to be honest about it. And the more that you don't just the more that, and I see that you're doing that, the more that you don't take it personal when they say you're being political.
Mhm.
The more that you see the online attacks and you understand that these are trolls, a lot of times they aren't even in your area, the more that you can withstand what they are going to try to do to you to get you to be quiet, to shut up, and to comply.
Exactly. And I've responded to a lot of these people. I said, what you're trying to do is create civil unrest in the community, and it should not be about that. At the end of the day, this is about a 9-year-old little girl that is my daughter, that
Yes.
God entrusted me with her to protect her. And that's what I'm doing as a parent. Everything else is secondary.
Yes.
I cannot let this happen to her, and I cannot let this happen to other peers. What happens in the elementary school, the kids are so vulnerable. And this is where they're going now, right? They went through the high schools, they went through the junior high schools. Now they're getting it on the elementary level. The children are like sponges at that age, right? So they go to school and they have a figure of authority, like a teacher or a principal or a guidance counselor. Anything you tell them, they will believe because they know no better. What a better candidate for them to start with this brainwashing or whatever you want to call it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen on my watch. I just want to keep exposing it. The people, the more information they get, the more they're aware of it, and they need to get out and stand for what is right. This stuff is like cancer. It's eating away slowly but surely, and we need to cut it out. And that is my goal. That is my goal. And until I do not find that my daughter is whole again, I will not stop this campaign. And I even think after that, God has given me the calling to continue to speak out for children, boys and girls, because they need protection. Yes. They're our children. They're our future. What is the next generation going to be like? It's scary. It is very scary.
Yes, and it's boys too. I was just at an event where a mom brought her 2 young boys, and she said, I'm a boy mom, but I'm bringing my boys to this event to save girls' sports, to protect girls' private spaces, to meet Riley Gaines, because I'm teaching them how to be a gentleman, how to respect women, how to treat women. And I would never want them to, I want them to be protectors of women. And I really admire that. That's why I think you should include your boys. I'm so glad to see a dad in this fight, because we need dads. That energy, that male energy, that protective spirit needs to be over our girls, because they're so vulnerable right now. And
Exactly.
I think that the left has done a very good job in basically calling men and dads, brothers, uncles that want to defend women, making them misogynists, when real misogyny is allowing a boy into a girl's space, allowing a boy to take a girl's spot on a team, telling a girl to submit her feelings, to deny her discomfort, and instead to elevate and to promote and to affirm something that isn't true and that actually causes her harm and causes her to lose opportunities. I think that's real misogyny, and they're just engaging in a whole lot of psychological deflection. And I mean, it couldn't be more clear to me that that is the case.
Most definitely. And what about the anti-bullying laws? Does this not apply to that? There was never any conversation about that, right? Here we
Your daughter
go.
was bullied. And again, talk about what are the way your daughter was getting bullied. What were the ways that your daughter was getting bullied that the school did not address?
Yeah, she was isolated. This individual was pulling her friends, and she was sitting at lunch by herself because he was telling all the other students around her that, oh, she's a tattletale, she got me in trouble, or stuff like this, and pulling her away, and she was getting isolated during the whole incident, and she shouldn't have felt that way. And when she comes home and tells me, and she goes, Dad, I sat by myself at the lunch table when there's 50 or 60 other students, that's bullying. And not only that, a week after that was another incident where they had them separated, but in the same classroom, this individual went over to where she was working on a project, stepped all over it, hit her with the trifold poster, and they dismissed it. I said, that is retaliation, that's bullying, and still nothing about that. And if you need all this, I got all the information on that too. I keep a paper trail of everything.
Yes, please send that to me right away. As soon as we get off, I want to see that. So because if the situation were reversed, if she were to go over to that boy and hit him, name call him, I guarantee you she would be suspended, expelled, you'd be called, and this would be hate. In a nanosecond, this would be taken care of. But in reverse, when he's doing that to her, they overlook it because the transgender so-called child is a sacred cow, and they simply do not have the courage to apply the rules fairly. You said it yourself. Do not apply policy fairly. Your child, regardless of the fact that, let's just say that you agree, okay, this boy can identify as a girl and use the bathroom. Does that mean that he can crawl under the stall and watch her go to the bathroom, to look at her private areas, to watch her in periods of undress? No.
Right.
Girl can't do that either. A little girl can't crawl under and watch another girl. A boy can't watch another boy. They are not applying the rules fairly. This boy, regardless of how he identifies, engaged in sexual harassment and should have been punished for that. And since it's a repeat thing, he actually should probably be expelled for that. And I'm sure your actual policies of your school district, that would be the situation. A Title IX coordinator should have been called. There should have been repercussions. You should know. And rather than having your daughter being the one treated like she's a bad person, it should be that boy that is followed around, that boy that is monitored. And if there was another incident, that boy should not be in the school because he's continually harassing your daughter.
Yeah, I said accountability and discipline has no gender. It should be equal for both. And I also told them, I have a 10-year-old son that's in the 5th grade there. And I said, if my son went into the girls' room and did exactly what this student, what do you think would have happened? There would have been the local police department would have been involved. Department of Social Service would have been involved. He would have gotten suspended, and he would have been labeled a sex offender. Correct? What makes this any different? Silence.
Yep.
That's all I get is silence. And
You're
it just
exactly
gives me, and it just gives me more drive to continue fighting when they do things like this.
Yeah, in situations like this, the protocol is a Title IX coordinator, a call to the local police, and a police investigation.
Right.
Social services. It is a very serious thing. A complaint like this, a sexual harassment in schools is very serious. And like I said last night, if your school district cannot handle sexual harassment among 9 and 10-year-olds, how are you supposed to trust that they can handle it if there were an adult who was harassing children? What if one of their own, what if a staff member is harassing children? If they can't police and monitor even small children, how are they going to how can they say we can guarantee the protection of your children from adults? And grooming behavior exists every day. There is a news story about a coach, a teacher, an administrator, someone that is in a school district that is engaging in improper behavior with minors entrusted in their care. So I think parents need to question, if they can't deal with this situation, they probably can't deal with a more, an even more serious situation with adults. And
Right.
that should be cause for concern. Even if you are like, if you think, oh, I don't want to get involved. This is too, there's too much angst in the community. You have to consider the fact that even if you don't have kids in the district, this should matter to you because your taxes fund this school system. These are the children in your community. You hope that they grow up and they stay in the community and become the adults in the community. And it should matter to you what's happening. I think there's no excuse for not protecting children. If you are an adult, children are entrusted in your care. The children in your community need protectors, and you need to stand up. Even if you don't have kids in the district, you should be at that school board meeting because you pay taxes, and you should say something.
Exactly. And I try to make the community aware. And some of them will either react, well, my child already went through the school, or vice versa, or I homeschool. It doesn't make a difference. Our taxes every year reflect it. We play very well in taxes here in this town for the school system. And this is our community. You know, we have to, what about, okay, your children already went through school, but one day they might want to establish roots here in town and raise a family too. If we don't stop it now, what do you think it's going to be like in 20 years from now? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. So I've been advocating that, and I've been trying to get people to get on board, and you need to stand up. And I've been at every, like I said, every public meeting that I possibly can. I have a lot of backing, but there's that very little fuel with I've taken punches left and right, and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
But I'm driven. I am very driven, and I will not stop.
And then in closing, I want to, and we'll have more conversations, but I want to, because I have a video here of what you're doing next. So let's watch this, then you can comment.
Mhm.
This is sign number 310. As you see, I have signs down there that says no boys in the girls' bathroom. This is all because of an incident that happened with my daughter May 1st, where a transgender boy was peeping in on her and decided to push the door open on her. It's been a big controversy in town here. We have about approximately 1,008 homes in this town, and I blanketed 310 with these signs. If you could turn around, you see signs down on the other side over here too. They go far back. No boys in the girls' bathroom. The neighbors down here, down at the next house, they have signs. They have nicknamed this road that goes all the way down. They call it Mega Mile because of all the signs that I have, which I'll bring up into another video. Today I had petitions, filled out petitions to remove all 5 school committee members from the town. I'm not getting answers. I'm not getting any responses for them. The lack of transparency and the empathy, it's not there. I've been to every school committee meeting that they've had and voiced my opinions. And today I'm holding a drive-through petition, and I'm hoping to get 485 signatures from the 4,800 voters that are in town. So you will see, I'll get more clips and videos as I go down the road. I got some more signs to put on in the yards. And I still got the petitions over here that we're doing drive-through at 7 p.m. now. And we're going to wrap it up, and I'm going to get down and put some more signs down into the center of town.
Wow. Okay. So now tell us what you're doing.
Well, I needed to be heard, and I hit a wall, and one day I was just sitting down and I was like, how can I get this attention on this without having to just keep going to these school committee meetings because they're once a month and I can't get the word out to everybody. So I said, you know what? I said, no boys in the girls' bathroom. That kind of makes sense. No boys in the girls' bathroom. So I ran it by my attorney, and he said it was perfect because I didn't want to put any other wording in there because right away people start turning this into a political or a hate group. So it's plain and simple. No boys in the girls' bathroom at RMS, which means Rochester Memorial School. And I have signs that say Rochester Memorial School has failed our female students. And if you see it, I have it on my shirt. I got it on my back. And it's been the campaign of this town. It's all over the place. I ordered 10 signs. I said, let me try 10 signs and I'll ask a couple of my neighbors. And the next week, I all of a sudden I'm getting responses. I need a sign. Can I get a sign? Can I get a sign? I went to a local RTC meeting and I passed out about 60 of them. People wanted signs. So I was like, I got to get everybody centrally located. I can't run around town with signs all over the place. And I was able to get people all in one group. I ran out of signs. People started donating money for me to start buying more signs. They thought the cause was a good cause. And that's where we're at today. I'm up at, like I said, 310 signs. I actually ordered another 100 because the next town over they want me to speak at their RTC meeting. And what I want to do is bring this outside of our community for awareness in the surrounding communities. So I've got no boys in the girls' bathroom at our schools signs, so people could start being proactive. Because if it hasn't happened in your school, or it could be happening and you don't know, or it's gonna happen. So the local towns are asking me to come in and speak. They're publicizing it. The signs, I'll be giving them out. I want to spread this all. I would love the White House to have one of these in front of their front lawn. No boys in the girls' bathrooms at any of our schools. Plain and simple. And the campaign has taken off. It's going like wildfire, so it's spreading. And definitely, I will keep you updated. The people are on board. They're starting to wake up. We need more dads. We need more dads to step up. They are the head of your household. You are the protector of your children. I need you guys to stand. I did all the legwork, but stand behind me and let's continue to push forward against this administration.
That sounds amazing. And finally, you sent me last night a letter that your daughter wrote. I put this on TikTok. I'm going to.
Don't make me cry.
Okay, but here, let's watch this.
Dear Mr. President and Melania, my name is Brooklyn Rivera. I live in Rochester, Massachusetts. I need your help. You see, I was in the bathroom of my school, and a transgender boy walked in. He started to peek through the stall, and then he pushed my door open. He embarrassed me. I was crying after it happened, but my school did nothing to help me. My mom and dad have been back and forth with the principal, but the school says the boys can go into the bathroom with girls. Now I feel scared to use the girls' bathroom. And the boy didn't get into trouble at all. I go to Rochester Memorial School. I'm in the third grade. I'm 9 years old. If you wanted to call my parents, you could. Any help that you can give me would be great. Thank you. Signed, Brooklyn Rivera.
That's pretty powerful.
And she came to me with that idea, and I told her, I said, honey, you stand up for what you think is right. Don't let anybody tell you any different. If you want to write to president, you can write to president. We will send it, and we will continue sending letters if you need to. Whether he gets it or not, it's okay. But at least you know that you can stand up for what you think is right. And she sat there and wrote that letter, and it tears me. I can't even look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so sincere. It's, I think we'll do everything we can to make sure the president sees that letter. I think that's very brave of her, and this is a terrible ordeal for a third grade girl, I'm so glad that you're fighting. You and your wife are fighting so
Thank you.
hard, pushing back, and I hope that the community supports you. And I think this is just the beginning. I know there's more to the story. We want
Oh,
to
yes.
show there's a lot more, and we're going to explore what's happening and what happens next.
Mhm.
But I think trying to recall, just doing everything that you can to say that I know if it was my daughter, I wouldn't stop. You
No.
you can't stop. And they could say, people would say, well, I know sometimes you should just homeschool, you should just do this or that, but
Right.
we've got to fight for these institutions. We have to fight, because even if you remove your daughter, then there's all the other girls that are still there. And without powerful parents like yourself, these schools they're going to just fall so fast. There won't be anything left, any spirit of good to fight the spirit of evil.
Exactly. Yep.
So thank you so much for coming on and telling your story, sharing your daughter's story. We're going to talk again for sure.
I have
And,
plenty.
and yes, please, and send me that information about the other incidents, because that's the fact that your daughter continued to experience bullying, and this boy is only going to get stronger and bigger because he's a biological male,
Right.
and more intimidating. He's
Yes.
only going to become more of a threat to your daughter and others as he gets bigger and as he enters puberty, and then things, I think, become even more dangerous for girls. And so I really can't believe this is happening in third grade to
No.
9-year-olds.
I don't think we're having. I don't think. I can't believe we're having this conversation these days and age, because this is just unheard of. This is just unheard of. So.
And your daughter has become a target for this kid, and regardless of how he identifies, that behavior is intolerable, and the rules need to apply fairly, and they aren't. And this is why your school district, because they aren't applying the rules fairly, they should be subject to an official Title IX investigation. And
Yeah.
you have done everything that you could to address this. You have gone up the chain of command, and your school district just refuses to see reason and to follow the law. So I think you definitely, you need justice, and your daughter needs justice. So.
Right. And when your Christian beliefs have to submit to an idea,
Yes.
where have we come in society? Where's the moral, ethical, where's the compass in these people? Their moral compass, there is none. So we need to keep the fight, and I hope that it gets all the way up to where it needs to go in Washington, and there's an investigation, because they need it. They need to come down and take care of these people.
Yes. And Mahmoud v. Taylor, which is another Supreme Court decision just decided last year, reaffirmed the fact that a school district cannot undermine a parent's deeply held religious beliefs.
Oh, they
And
do.
if the school district is doing that, then they are not following the Constitution, and they would be subject to, they need to change. They need to change their policies and adjust what's happening in classrooms, because they are violating all sorts of federal laws.
Right.
And that's my opinion. And that's my opinion. So, and I would think that there would be some very good lawyers out there that would agree with that. So that's another avenue too, that there are some very great pro bono legal firms that I hope would be willing to take your case and pursue this even further. So let's pray. And if you're watching this, pray for Luis Rivera, his family, pray for this school district, and pray for justice. And not only that, do something about it. So contact your congressman, your senators, your state senators and representatives if you live in Massachusetts, or if you live in another state, and say, we need to get laws on the books so that this doesn't happen in my neck of the woods.
Amen.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
again.
Thank you.
That was an amazing interview. Learned a lot, and I definitely want to see justice for Brooklyn. Louis and Carrie, thank you so much for sharing your story. And here's what I want everyone to take from this interview. Louis did everything the system tells a parent to do. He called, he emailed, he met with them, he filed a federal complaint, he went to school board meetings, he showed up every school board meeting, he tried to engage the committee, the rights policy, and he took it and took it. And finally, when he sees that the district is pulling his daughter aside without parents there to tell a little 9-year-old third grader all about school board policy, to speak to a young girl without parents present, like she is an adult, explaining why the school board and the school's hands are tied, and a little girl has to go home and ask her parents about what these legal terms mean because she doesn't understand them. All she understands is that there is a boy that is harassing her, bullying her, allegedly, in that school. So if you're sitting at home tonight in the middle of your own version of this, just know you aren't alone. Please reach out to somebody. Reach out to Moms for Liberty, reach out to me, reach out to someone who can help you. And here are some of the things that you should do. First, you should find out whether your district's policy comes from an actual statute, or if it is guidance. Find your school's non-discrimination policy, look it up, find out when it was adopted, and really educate yourself. Talk to school board members who are willing to change that policy. Any school board can change a policy. Local governance of school districts is still intact, and school districts can and should develop policy that is in keeping with federal law, even if they have states, a governor that is telling them that this is their hill to die on, that they're going to fight for gender ideology until their dying breath. You should still stand for truth, and you should look for legal help so that you can do so. Open records, do lots of open records requests to find out what's happening. And if you need help with that, there are organizations like ours. There are legal organizations that will help you. There's Alliance Defending Freedom, Southeastern Legal Foundation. There are several others in Wisconsin. There's the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty. And in Massachusetts, there is a legal firm that was helping Luis and his family. They issued demand letters. They have been vocal on this. The Independent Women's Forum has also written stories about this in May. So there are organizations that you should contact. But I highly suggest you contact Moms for Liberty, like Luis did, because we have a unique capability to bring attention and sunlight to issues like this and to help parents and communities fight back. Learn your state's open meetings laws. That's really important. If a board discusses something outside of a posted meeting, most states give you a real complaint. Find out which body actually governs your child's building, and put everything in writing, every request, every reply. Carrie Rivera has an email trail, and that trail is the only reason why things are provable, and it will be helpful as you next step issue a title, try to submit a Title IX request, a request for an investigation. That is really important. In this case, there's one father, a town of 5,700 people, a father, a mother, a little girl, and they decided that they weren't just going to be handled. They weren't just going to sit down and be quiet. They were going to do something. They were going to stand up. They were going to stand for their daughter, stand for truth, stand for justice, and stand for girls. That's what we have to do. We have to stand up. We cannot be quiet. We cannot just let these things happen. We can't just say, you know what, this isn't my fight, this isn't my hill. And while you should do everything you can to protect your daughter, you can't just ignore and run away and bury your head. Can't just say, oh, homeschool, oh, pull your kid out. Maybe those things are good options, but you still have to fight. As long as his daughter is in that school, they have standing to fight. They have legal standing to fight. And I'm glad that they are fighting. In a town that small, there aren't a lot of options for parents. There aren't a lot of places that your kid can go to school. And there are towns like this all over America. I am in them all the time. Areas where there isn't a private school option. There's one elementary school. There are more rural areas, a little bit more isolated areas, and there are areas that are more conservative. And so in these areas, when you have these woke school board members and administrators that have graduated these Marxist Department of Education, the education departments in universities and colleges is a real problem. They become Marxist indoctrination camps. They read Paulo Freire. They receive heavy doses of DEI all through their training. And then when they become teachers, all of the professional development is centered around DEI. And so it's while the Trump administration is trying to chip away at the woke industrial complex that hasn't just invaded all areas and institutions of education, it controls them. And taking back that level of institutional power is not something you can do in a year or 2 years. It took a generation or more, some say 2 generations, for the failure of education to be complete. And it's going to take time to unwind. And I do believe that if we do things right, we can see some real positive changes in the upcoming years. And we're starting to see some of that, but this is a marathon, not a sprint. So we've got to continue to be joyful warriors and continue to fight. As parents, we know that fighting for our children does not stop at the classroom door. It means supporting organizations and businesses that stand for faith, for freedom, for the Constitution, and for our children. That's why we are proud to partner with Patriot Mobile, America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. You'll get reliable nationwide coverage, 100% US-based service. That means you're actually going to understand the customer service representatives that you talk to. And you'll have the peace of mind knowing that your phone bill helps support organizations that are fighting for our constitutional freedoms, that are fighting for our values, that are fighting for our children. Visit patriotmobile.com/M4L. And I'm going to put that up right here. Look at patriotmobile.com/M4L, or call Patriot Mobile at this number, 972-PATRIOT, and check them out. See what they have to offer. I think they have a lot of great services, and their coverage is just as good, if not better, as some of those big providers who are very woke. Type in the promo code M4L and you'll receive a free month of service. That's pretty amazing. So make the switch today to Patriot Mobile.
Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot. Some wireless companies say that they stand for something. What exactly do they stand for, and why won't they say it out loud? Let me tell you what Patriot Mobile stands for. They stand for the lives of the unborn. They stand for the Second Amendment and the right to protect yourself and your family. They stand for our veterans and first responders who sacrifice so much for our freedom. Make the switch to Patriot Mobile today and support a company that doesn't just say they stand for something, but one that stands for the things that matter the most.